Welcome to the latest edition of Extra Time. You just described Alex's top as dastardly. That's quite the...
He's hung people out to dry today.
No
prisoners for Burley.
A bit disappointed at the end there with the Salford game. We never got a Gary Neville interview. Things I come in here, I was waiting on that. How are we dressing tomorrow for this? We're doing the Arsenal-Everton
Arsenal United. Everton
as well.
Friday.
Our duty tomorrow is to do that game. Now I'm a bit concerned. I mean, you got a jacket.
What's the problem?
A few dog hairs on mine and stuff like that. That's the problem there.
He said fisherman's jacket.
He's come in today.
How would you describe
the only thing
that
he's missing?
style,
His
Kieran?
sandwiches in his rod.
Just fashionable. I don't know.
You got the same cut. There's no.
It's called a two-piece. It's called a two-piece.
A two-piece.
Yes. I'm going to take him shopping.
Imagine that. There we are. What have we got for us tomorrow? Craig and Kieran, was there any third-round FA Cup games where you felt going into it that you were being set up to be the victims of a giant killing?
What do you mean set up?
I don't quite know.
The FA don't sit there and go, we'll set up someday for... I don't know,
but you were saying who took you to a replay? We were discussing this a couple of days ago, wasn't it? Barnet were 91st.
92nd, which was the bottom of the Football League.
I
don't think in those days you could be relegated to the conference.
Okay.
You could, I don't know. But they were absolutely bottom of the... and the other side of that was Glenn Hoddle was our manager at the time, player manager. He'd only been there a short period, and his brother, Carol Hoddle, who clearly was never as famous as him, was playing for Barnet.
I never knew that.
Yeah, he was playing. So Glenn's brother was playing for Barnet. But I just remember, I was saying to you yesterday, the day before, that, it was my first experience of the FA Cup, really, in 93, 94. And to me, it was about just getting on the field and this is going to be easy. And I was so surprised at the standard of these lower league players. And maybe it was just the fact that we dropped our guard and they had everything to play for. In fact, both games were at Stamford Bridge. So we played the initial tie was supposed to have been at Barnet, but there was some issue with their stadium, security, seating, blah, blah. So they wanted to play it at Stamford Bridge. So the first game was at Stamford Bridge and the replay was at Stamford Bridge. And they never got a second bite at the apple. We beat 4-1.
What about you, Kieran?
We got drew against Leyton Orient one year.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was the third round. I think it might have been away. And it was it was in my early days, so all the youngsters got to run out. Massive day for us.
Wenger's in charge?
Wenger's in charge, yeah. Wenger's in charge. Played a bunch of youngsters, and we actually drew. I don't think I gave away a penalty, but I think I can remember something happened, and
you did something.
I made a mistake, yeah, and I thought, oh God, this isn't good. And then we got the replay. They got a replay at the Emirates, and then we beat them 5-0. Got a couple of assists.
A couple of assists.
I managed to regain.
No one remembers assists.
Nobody remembers assists. I got a couple of assists. If memory serves me right, I can't remember. I think we went out my second season at Celtic. I think we went out the League Cup to Clyde.
What's Clyde?
Exactly.
Wow.
Away from home. Let me tell you, things got very nasty. Well, you know what Celtic fans are like.
Yeah.
There's thousands of them.
And obviously forgiving.
No, very nasty. So yeah, these things can happen.
Did you have any assists though in the game?
Well, obviously not. We went out. I had 2 assists that day, and I also that day, if I remember right, I dressed up as a fisherman. I think.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Arrived. What's he dressing as tomorrow?
For Craig.
Santa? I mean, I don't know. What is he coming as tomorrow?
There's video, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Someone dressed as Santa, which I've seen, which is very good. For Craig, what are you expecting from our...
That was Santa.
What was Santa?
Santa.
For Craig, what are you expecting from our Clasico tomorrow? Real Madrid, Barcelona, of course, Spanish Super Cup.
Well, we're not doing it.
It's live on ABC and ESPN Plus.
Live on ABC, and we've been binned.
Well, there you go. But let's not
Well, we're actually delighted to be binned because we'll be working in the morning, and then we'll just go home.
Okay,
it's fantastic.
Right.
Tomorrow, I'm a little concerned for. Tongue in cheek. Who wants to work in an afternoon?
Right.
I'm a little concerned for Barca actually, because not that I'm a little concerned in a sense that if Real Madrid play really well and expose them and beat them comfortably, I'm not concerned, but I'm intrigued to see how that's going to affect the second half of their season. I think there is a grave chance that things could fall apart for Barca much quicker than Real Madrid.
Right.
Coaching, players, more experience, and I think for them tomorrow, if they were to take a bit of a walloping, 3 or 4, bearing in mind they finished the first half of the Spanish season, the domestic season, poorly, and they've had some issues off the field with Dani Olmo and so forth. And a bad result tomorrow, it's going to be difficult to see how then they just drop that and then pick up the second half of the season. They're already, 5 points behind?
Yes.
So they're already trailing. They've gone from a position of strength to a position of weakness in quite a quick period of time. And I don't think Hansi Flick can afford any more scenarios that are going to really dent the youngsters' confidence.
Let's go old Arsenal days, shall we, Kieran? Start, bench or drop? Pires, Parlour, Overmars.
Bench Parlour. I like Ray. I'm friends with Ray, but he's going to have to go. I'm going to have to drop. No, I'm going to drop Ray.
You're going to drop Ray?
I'm going to bench.
What do they call him? The Romford? Who's he? The Romford?
Romford Pele.
Romford Pele.
I'm going to bench Mark Overmars and I'm going to start Robert.
Robert Pires, yeah. It was interesting. We were talking in the car coming in. We were talking about the dynamic between you and Danny. Like how Danny still obviously clearly has a lot of respect for you as like an older player who looked after him and everything. We were discussing on Extra Time, and I was saying like, what sort of player like did you still like not scared of but have a lot of respect? And you were talking about Lehmann, yeah.
Jens Lehmann, yeah. When he came back, he was. He just really ruffled some feathers, and he came in to let everyone know we weren't having a great time at that time. And even now to this day, if I see him, if I come across him, I've still got that fear factor, and I felt that Danny had that with him. I think he had like a bit of PTSD from Burley having him in a headlock.
Maybe.
But I used to ruffle. It wasn't just that. It was one of the reasons that Jim Smith signed me for Derby at the time, because one of the coaches said to me, might have been, what was the goalie coach again? Eric
Steele.
Eric Steele. Eric. How can I forget Eric? Eric said to me, look, he says, this dressing room is quiet.
Right.
And they're struggling down the bottom of the league, and Jim's fed up. Jim Smith, the manager, is fed up. He thinks that they're just hearing his voice all the time, and it's not resonating, and they're screaming and shouting, and he wanted another experienced player to come in and would ruffle some feathers. As well as obviously play, you got to play on the field and do that sort of side of it. So this was before Danny was there. Danny came after.
We're talking about
Danny, you're hiding under the desk. So I used to, particularly in the first season, it didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was a player that was. I was about 28 at the time, so I was 28, 29, so I was in my pomp. And you could have been 32, you could have been 35, you could have been 24.
Right.
If it needed to be said, it was being said and it was coming your way. And then after that, there was some younger players come in, and Danny was one of them. And I've always said, the one thing with Danny and a few others, he's never had a big head. Never, ever, ever. And he was always willing to listen. Now, sometimes I was really hard on him and others, but I always tried to help them. Some didn't want it. Some just didn't want it. There's always one or two at a club who, younger players, there's usually some that know everything.
Right.
They know it. They've not seen it, they've not done it, but they know it. And sometimes you just...
You can't.
You're bat on the brick wall, you can't tell them. You try but you can't. He was not one of them. And I knew he was nervous. And so you try and find a balance between the kick up the backside and the arm around. And that's a difficult scenario, particularly when you're in the Premier League. And
did Lehmann get that balance right?
It's unforgiving.
Like, was it something that his dressing room needed?
Eventually, yeah. But when he came in at the beginning, for a while, you just felt that was just him and his personality and character. Once we started to improve a little bit, then we saw the lighter side of him and realised that actually you need that in the dressing room.
And it was something that, because obviously you'd lost a lot of leaders over the years, that have been like stalwarts of Arsenal, and was it quiet? Like, did you kind of need that?
Yeah, I don't think it was quiet, but we didn't have as many personalities as you can imagine in this era.
Yes.
With Ray Parlours, we had Jack Wilshere, who was that kind of character. But people like Aaron Ramsey, and a lot of them were pretty mellow characters, and we definitely needed that when Jens came in, and also Thierry as well when he came back from New York Red Bulls.
Xhaka tells, I think it's Layman Xhaka tells that great story about
Yes, he does. Yeah.
when they're in the tunnel at Highbury. You remember Highbury? Yeah, the tunnel was very narrow, isn't it? And I'm paraphrasing Xhaka, but Xhaka said he was in the tunnel waiting to go out for West Ham or Portsmouth or whoever it was, and Layman came down the tunnel and looked at Xhaka and said, I don't know if it was psychology, he went, I thought you were packing it in.
Yeah, have you not retired yet? Is that something you can imagine him saying?
For sure.
Yeah.
Dead serious as well, like straight face.
Yeah.
Shaq was like, I'm just about to go and play. He said, I thought you'd packed it in.
Craig, should Flick start with Gavi or Olmo tomorrow?
Gavi, I think he played.
Yeah, he played well in the semi-final, didn't he?
And so it's looking like him. I think in a level playing field, you'd have Dani Olmo on the side to get up and support Lewandowski and make those runs, but he's missed a lot of games, and he's obviously had this sort of controversy of the registration hanging over him. He's an experienced player, and he'll put that to the side. But I think fitness, again, worryingly, and we talked about it, fitness has been an issue for him this season.
Yeah. For Kieran,
Although it's been for Gavi, I understand that he's came back from a long-term injury.
For Kieran, sign one of these players for Arsenal. Isak, Watkins, Gyokere.
Isak.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I like
That would be a
Gyokere as
real
well,
difference maker.
He had a
Isak's
spell
got
at
the
Coventry,
Premier League
actually,
pedigree now.
Gyokere.
Yeah, it did nothing.
No, but then you
Absolutely.
can
He
go
was at
away,
Brighton, wasn't he? Did
find
nothing
your
at
feet
Brighton.
somewhere
Yeah,
else.
but you've got Isak who's been to the Premier League, done it, shown it.
Yeah.
Watkins is a good player. I mean, he's a good player to have in your team, but Isak's just a different bit of
I
quality.
think he's
isn't
just
he?
got a little bit more, yeah.
He seems to be getting better, doesn't he, as well?
He does. And I was mentioned the other day that the timing of that game, the Newcastle game, and you know the fact that it's January and the window's open. Isak comes to the Emirates, bags a goal and performs brilliantly. It kind of just highlighted Arsenal's need for that position at the moment.
Final question for Mr. Gibbs. Oh, it's very formal. Mr. Gibbs and Mr. Burley. Currently, we see the problems between Vinicius and Maffeo. At some point, did you have some type of rivalry like this with a particular player? Mr. Burley, please forgive me for calling you Mr. Oh, there we are. That's very nice.
Been called boss.
Did you have a rivalry, Kieran, with anyone? Like,
I didn't have a rivalry. I don't think I had that. I didn't really have any problems with teammates.
no, but with opposition.
Other players.
Yeah. Would someone lay one on you and you'd remember for the next time or anything like that?
Nothing that dragged on for another game or to another season.
It was forgotten pretty
I
much.
Didn't really, no. Burley for sure did.
No.
I don't think he did actually. No.
No, I used to share it out.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that. I shouldn't say this, but I finished runner-up in the Players' Player of the Year in '98, and I'm convinced that.
So that was the year that you won it with the sports writers.
I won the Sports Writers Footballer of the Year.
Yeah, just in case you don't know that fact, Kieran.
I didn't know that.
The Scottish Sports Writer Player of the Year, but he was runner-up in the players' vote. Because some of the players aren't going to vote for him. He's upset some of them.
I think part of that was the fact that I'd got in a fight with quite a lot of them.
Right.
So I do think that matters. But it's a general rule of thumb.
It's forgotten now. Don't worry.
What do you mean?
Doesn't think about it.
Yeah. He's not up walking the dogs at 7 a.m. thinking about it at all.
I wonder who it was. Who didn't vote for me?
I was quite happy actually because my teammate Jackie McNamara won it, who was excellent that season.
Right.
But Jackie's slightly nicer than me, you know.
I see.
He's got a nasty side to him.
Okay.
Not as nasty.
No, exactly. And what were you like with referees? Because we know what he was like with referees.
I used to give referees a little bit, but I wouldn't do it in an aggressive way. I would do it in quite a condescending way.
Really good decision. Well done.
Yeah, I was quite sarcastic with them and a little bit cheeky with the refs.
Right.
I didn't get that many bookings for dissent though.
No.
Maybe one or two.
And how many times you were sent off? Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah.
The famous one.
I thought it was that.
The
wrong player.
Wrongful dismissal.
Yeah.
I think only one other time apart from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Deserved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely deserved.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
The only thing is if Danny...
Back to the Football Writers Player of the Year.
No. World Cup.
What year was it?
World Cup.
Like, that was 1998. Craig's greatest moment.
If Danny Higginbottom's going to be coming up again, I don't know, Danny. He has to stop telling that story.
Which one?
He has to change his game.
Which one?
It can't be keep.
Well, the headlock story.
You can't dine out in that headlock one anymore.
Well, to be fair, it's quite a story that you've got the veteran of the club dragging you around La Manga in a headlock for 45 minutes.
Yeah, but he's told it. That's my point. Is he's told it.
You've told many stories over and over again. Football Rivals of the Year.
The headlock one is the best.
Oh, that's awesome. That is it. That brings us to the end of today's show. Back tomorrow. Massive show tomorrow, of course. Arsenal, Manchester United, Real Madrid against Barcelona. Great day of football on ESPN+. Be sure to join us for it.